wealth, to define the problems for black folk in America like it's never been defined before. It ain't about all this stuff about personalities. It's about what are the conditions that precipitated black folk getting into this dilemma. And what black labor, white wealth did, it tracked 800 years of history in very systematic terms to show you every strategy, every technique, every law, every public custom, and every public policy that was used to enslave black folk around the world and to maldistribute almost 100% of all this nation's wealth, power, resource, privileges, businesses, and controls of all levels of government into the hands of the dominant white society. And what slavery and Jim Crow segregation did with black folk, it intentionally maldistributed all the resources away from black folk and created a real-life monopoly game. Black folk in America are playing in a real-life monopoly game that you're totally ill-prepared to play and win. And if you know anything about monopoly, monopoly is based on everybody sitting down and getting a fair share of the resources, the money in their hand before the game starts. Black folk, you can't play because you never got your 40 acres and a mule. You're sitting and playing a game that you're not going to win. And if you know anything about monopoly, the primary principles that go around the board and take the money that you have and buy land and buy the best land around the board. And if you can't buy land, then you buy businesses like electric company, the railroad, and the water company. And you buy your land, and when you develop your land, you put houses on it. And once you could receive enough rent from people landing on your houses, you then take your money and buy hotels. And then after you buy the hotels, you sit there and wait for all the rest to come around and land on your property and bring some wealth and power home to you. And see, my people have been playing real-life monopoly with no money, going around the board hoping the world that they can land on free park and income tax and charity.
We are back again. It is Thursday, and we are way late. Basically because I am still in therapy for my sciatic nerve thing, and they've been doing some traction and some other things just to try to get me back in some functional space here, which kind of put me way off on the preparation for my show. So we're probably going to make this a two-part show because I wanted to get into so much more than what I'm going to be able to get into tonight. The clip you were watching was from Dr. Claude Anderson. There's a few people that I listen to and I enjoy their talks. Dr. Claude Anderson, Boyce Watkins, Dr. Joy DeGruy. Three excellent PhD individuals who have worked in society and have the ability to translate from one world into the other world and give you a clear understanding. I may not be the best orator in the world, but I think I get my point across. And I think if you listen to some of these people, you'll get your point across. And sometimes it's not even about getting your point across. Like I say on the last show, The Black Divide, we're thinking in two different ways. There are a lot of people who are happy with the status quo. There are a lot of black professionals that have gone out and acquired their degrees, and they're fine with the money they're making. They're fine with their careers, and there's nothing wrong with that. If that's what you want to do, everybody's not going to be about uplifting the people and equality for everyone until something happens to one of their children, and then they'll be out here screaming, because no matter how much you acquire as a black person in America, you're still going to be seen as a nigger. They see Obama as a nigger. We're going to do a show on cognitive dissonance. It's basically a term. It's kind of like a two-minded person. When you know the reality, but you still perform as if you didn't know the reality. Like we all know the reality of America and how they treat people and how they treat black people and how you're treated in corporate America. We know the reality of it. But we continue to persist in these avenues because that's To us that makes sense that this is the way we were taught. This was the way we were conditioned. Go to school, get an education, get a job, work for them, build their structure. It wasn't enough that we built the structure for 400 years in slavery and never got a single cent. And then tools and instruments were put together to further keep us down. But there are a lot of black people that, hey, I don't have time for all that bull. I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. According to the master's handbook, I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. And you can't tell me different. I'm in that same situation. I go and work in corporate America and have been in corporate America for over 25 years. And I guarantee, I put money on it. I bet 8 out of 10 blacks at least, when they look at their career, they'll tell you, I should have been so much further along. And then they know the exact reasons why they're not further along, because the system, the game which we must play, requires you to really give up of yourself and your identity to a whole extent. Don't come in here with that equal rights, political bull. It'll even help you even more if you talk out against blacks. Clarence Thomas. So the show tonight is called Money or the Power. And we're in this election year. And both candidates have completely gotten off the topic, first of all. Like I always say, the Republicans don't promise you nothing and don't give you nothing. The Democrats promise you something and don't give you nothing. But when you look at the motives of each candidate, Hillary just wants to be the president because, she felt she missed out when Obama became the president. Okay, I understand that. Donald Trump wants the power. And that's what we're talking about. Money or power. And let me try to explain to you how this works. Money only gives you an opportunity to be introduced to the power. Power gives you the ability to control the resources and the people, the legislation, the world. That's power. There's very few people in the world that have real money. I think there was an article, the top 17 richest people in the world control 92% of the wealth in the world. That lets you know right there something wrong. The top 17 people, richest people in the world, control 92% of the wealth. That's like playing Monopoly. And that person's already got Boardwalk and Park Place. And whatever those other green properties, Pennsylvania, whatever those are up there. They got that whole row already. And you just starting the game and you got nothing. And that's what Dr. Claude Anderson talks about a lot. We're playing a real life game of Monopoly. But when you start a game of Monopoly, all the resources are spread out evenly. The problem with us as blacks, we didn't get anything. Or if everybody got 1,000, we got $50. And we're like, okay, make it from there. I mean, there was legislation in the beginning. Oh, you're going to get your 40 acres and a mule. And then they turned that legislation right around and said, nope, we're not going to take these people, good white folks' land, and you can work for them if you want to. Or you can be a real stand-up nigga. You can leave without nothing and make it from there. Same choices we get now. You can deal with this program the way we got it laid out. Or you can just go do what the hell you want to do. They try to throw around this thing of diversity. But on most jobs, if you go and you look at the diversity group, there may be one black on there. See, but when you put the rules and the legislation in, you skew the lines. Diversity's got nothing to do with just blacks. They're slowly phasing us out for other minorities. Everybody we've let come into this country qualifies for a minority status, and that covers us as a business, that we really don't have to worry about you. We got our diversity group here. We got our LGBTQ group here. Black man, you have no legal recourse with us anymore. The system, the game, it's so devilish. And like I was saying, in the black divide, how do we combat that when 70% of us work in that system, depend on that system to live? So once you want to be like us, okay, we're gonna need you to go to school and take out these loans, and now when you're $100,000 in debt, and we're calling in for this money, oh, you got to go to work to get this money, because you can't write these off or nothing. These are backed by the government. You didn't sign in now. You got to work for us, unless you were smart. And this is what I'm talking about now when I talk about village building, like Dr. Joy DeGruy. She speaks about the building of the village. And this is when everybody comes together, and our mindset becomes different because we think differently. We still say, get the education, but then come back and build here, come back and train here. Maybe there are people that can't afford that full education, or are unable to qualify for loans because, okay, you've been in jail. If you've been in jail, there's a lot of stuff that you're not going to qualify for with your felon. But it's kind of different in our neighborhood because the resources are already low. So when you come out of jail, there's nothing really to give you. Unlike in white communities. I live in a pretty good community, and you can go up to the center and see all the stuff that's posted. Unlike in the hood. It's all types of opportunities, all types of programs. Jim, I know you were on hard times. The drugs messed you up. But guess what? We know even before then, you were already a productive citizen in America. You were on your way to getting your degree, or already had your degree. So, screw that. Leroy's been giving us problems anyway at the job. Just come on down. Don't worry about it. I'm vouching for you. And because I'm vouching for you, there's no additional background checks or anything that need to be. If you're black, you better have 6 references, and someone better be white, because you need a good white person to vouch for you. And don't fall for this. Oh, it's fairness out here. There's no fairness out here. Let's get that out, and because that's what's been holding us down. All us good black people talking about how fair it is if you just apply yourself, and that's the biggest bunch of crock ever. Just like I showed a clip from the show last week on the Unwritten Rules. It's an excellent series for blacks entering the corporate scene. You'll get to see that no matter how good you are as a black person, you got to kiss all the asses in the office constantly. Don't lift your head up. Don't have an opinion. Shh. Be good, nigga. And you may make it somewhere. Still not as fast as the other people. And it's got nothing to do with your credentials. It's got nothing to do with you going out and drinking with these people. Because all they want you to do is make them feel comfortable. Your comfort level has nothing to do with it. We're dealing with structural racism in America. And that means it's built into the system. So the power is built on structural racism. Back in 1983, my teacher, Mr. Phillips, in Dunbar, he says, Mr. Robinson, they're trying to build a permanent underclass. And he said, here's the kicker. How are we going to get power when they say they're willing to share, but they're really not willing to share? Because why would they give up power to us? I got all the power. Why I need to share it with you? I can give the illusion that I'm going to give you some, but it's never what I say I'm going to give you. We put these rules on the book, but it's really not what it is. So it's even if we get money, and our concept of money is different than a whole lot of people money. If you just got enough money to take care of your family, go on a few trips, and that's cool with you, you ain't really got no money. You got a few dollars. You ain't even wealthy. You can have $1 million and you still not wealthy. Wealth takes care of generations. Wealth is what was accumulated from slavery, because you're making money and you're not paying any labor. 300 years. So with a 300-year head start and building the infrastructure of this country, how can anybody catch up? If socially we're training our kids on money. So when they're young, they're already learning about money. They're already seeing the setup from a very young age. Okay, a lot of them don't have the same obstacles. Okay, we got 2 parents, we live in a nice house, a nice neighborhood, community centers. Everybody's, hey Bob, it's all great in our neighborhoods. It's clean, it's great, no problems. Now flip it over for us. A lot of us that grew up in the 60s, 70s, 80s, grew up during the crack epidemic, the heroin epidemic, the hustlers, the players. So we got to get through all this just to get to school, just to get that poor education, because the funding is low. So you live in a poor neighborhood, it's not going to be a lot of money going to the school system. So you get not as great teachers. I had some great teachers. Thank God there were a few that really stuck their necks out for us and believed in black youth being able to do something, making us excellent students. But still knowing it's a damn shame what you're going to have to go through, young brother, young sister. And the way that they use the sisters, and we can't fault the sisters, because the sisters are more easily adaptable to the system. They work the program. They get up, they go to school, they get their degrees, they go in that office, they shut their mouth, they not a threat, get my money. I don't really need him. If he's not on this level, if he's not on the plantation level that I'm on, other than being an athlete, because if you're an athlete, you got some money. All that other shit goes out the window, don't it? Because women are about security. So if you can't secure them, then they don't want to be bothered with you, and you can't fault them for that, because we got to get up and get out and get something. You got to have something that brings money into the house that allows you to take care of the children. You ain't got to be all into the thing with a lot of the black women is the fashion and other things that engross them and pulls them away from nation building. They are not about nation building. And they don't have to be, because the men should be about nation building. So if we're not building the nation, they going with the dude that's got the best thing going on, even if it is a slave master. I commented on a woman. A lot of people are still out with this Nate Parker rape thing. And I said, really? So you missed the whole part of America raping, killing, destroying black families and everything, but yet you still get your butt up and go to work, and you keep your mouth closed on that. And here you have a black man that was acquitted of all charges for 20 years ago. He's been doing movies and everything. You had all these opportunities, but because the good white folks said, don't support this movie, don't do this. See, they like to tell us who our heroes should be and who we shouldn't support. It was the same thing back in the day with Malcolm. He's this and he's this, and you shouldn't support him. And if you do support him, guess what? You're on our list. That's all it comes down to. If you think any way outside the box of America and present anything else like, hey, I love our president to death, and I'm interested in reading a book when he leaves the White House. But I know 100% sure a lot of stuff that he may have wanted to do for black people, he knew it was no way on God's green earth that it was going to happen, because he was put there by certain people to follow a certain agenda. And the agenda is not the uplifting of black people. It's the holding on of power. And this is why everybody's scared of Donald Trump. He's got plenty of money. So money doesn't impress him. Money doesn't motivate him. He's motivated by the money. Now all the people that are following him are just some damn fools. Because morally and from an integrity standpoint, you cannot justify this man to nobody. But they sit right on TV and disagree with everything he says, and then they turn around and says, but I'm going to vote for him. I'm going to support the party. He's not even part of your party. But this is what power means to people. I will cut off my arm to get that power. I will do and say anything to get that power. That's where it's at with the Republicans. I'm ashamed of them. Because out of all this time, you had to mold and prepare somebody. You didn't do it. And now we got Donald Trump. This man isn't qualified to govern over any type of body. Alderman, mayor, nothing. But yet the polls are still tight because diversity in America equals white genocide. We losing our hold. And the people that feel like they're losing a hold are good old boy white men. I don't think they're losing their hold, because every time I turn around and I go to the office, hey, they in total charge. Very few of us there. And like I say, the few of us that are there are happy to get a paycheck and happy to shut up and keep it moving. What's the out plan? Money is the bloodline of society. So if I can control the money that you make, then I can control you. That's power on a whole different level. All these people that make these contributions, millions of dollars going to these candidates. What the hell you need $720 million for? Is the presidency for sale? It's incredible. You got to recognize the power shift that happened in this country. When Obama stepped in, they said, "Oh crap, we done let too many immigrants in this country," and now they thinking like this dude's thinking. They thinking everybody's entitled to health care and everybody should be treated fairly and everybody should have equal opportunity. That's not what this country's built on. We need to change these rules, lock these borders down, deport these people. All that. We're going to do a part 2 to the show. And like I say, I know we started late tonight. Nothing I can do about it. Once I get myself totally together, we'll be more able to discuss things on another level. I'm going to share a little clip with you that we're going to talk about with Dr. Umar Johnson, who is another person I listen to. Sometimes he goes a little bit overboard, but you're never going to agree with everybody. But check out this clip, and this is what we're going to talk. We're going to do a part 2 to this show, and hopefully everybody can hear this sound as it comes through. I guess I should turn the sound on, right?
What occurs when a person is holding on to contradictory ideas simultaneously. Ideas like, we really honor and uphold notions of freedom and democracy.
It's true, you know.
And at the same time that this is being espoused, committing literal genocide against Native people in America and enslaving generations of people of African descent. That would be an example of a conflict that is going on that has to be reconciled internally. As we look at institutions, as we look at how people move through the world in America. In other words, how do you espouse these ideas of freedom, and at the same time you are demonstratively doing something opposite of that, and in fact committing acts that are no less than barbaric as it relates to oppressing people. So, this is the dissonance.
Cognitive dissonance is when you have been conditioned to think, feel, and behave in a certain way. You've been socialized.
I've got the busiest job in the whole world, American housewife.
He gets teeth much whiter, you can see.
Special. For whitening clothes, Blue Cheer is different. So clean, so white.
And all of a sudden, everything you've been taught, everything you believe, has suddenly come face to face with a truth that contradicts it. And this truth is so overwhelmingly powerful that it's hard for you to ignore it. But in confronting this truth, it upsets the internal belief system upon which your life has functioned. It's when you've been raised in a certain religion or a certain political ideology, and someone brings you a morsel of truth that shocks the hell out of your internal intellectual belief system, and the truth they gave you was so powerful that it disrupted and uprooted almost everything you believe. Your ego in your mind automatically begins to try to find a way to shoot down the truth that you just heard. But because your spirit is telling you that this was the truth, your ego and mind is not doing a good enough job to shoot down that new information that is making it hard for you to remain a consistent adherent to that which you were previously told to believe.
So then, what does one do to calm?
So on Tuesday, we're going to do a part 2 to this show, and that was just a clip from Dr. Umar and Dr. Joy DeGruy on cognitive dissonance. And we're going to continue to explore this and figure out what's going on with us and where we are in America, and what the future looks like for Black people in America. and it's gonna take a real hard look on what we can do to change where we are, because we're screwed up, really. Love, peace. So we out of here.